The progress of humankind is written in the history of its tools. Nowhere is this more evident than in the field of the graphic arts. From the crude daubing implements that were used to create the earliest known paintings some 15,000 years ago, to the simple bronze chisels that carved the hieroglyphs on the walls of the tombs of the Egyptian kings, to the precision brushwork of the medieval illuminated manuscripts, to the advent of Gutenberg's movable type printing press, all the way to today's high-speed digital color printing presses. Each time a graphic artist gets a hold of a new and important tool, the result is equally new and important.
Hello and welcome to another Retro Crazy. The badge gives it away. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It both excites and scares me at the same time. It excites me because growing up I never had a 2000, but it's what everybody wanted when you had an Amiga. You wanted a big box Amiga. And it scares me because I know how bad it could be inside. This one, I do know the VARTA battery should have been cut out. So, let's find out. This thing is huge. It's kind of one of the largest and bulkiest I've done. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take the case off separately. There's just 4 screws at the side. Slide that off and then we can have a look inside. So, first sign inside, and things so far are looking reasonably good. I don't see anything other than lots of disconnected LEDs. That one would be the hard drive LED. There's another disconnected cable down here. I do see quite a nice dent in the top of one of the capacitors. I don't see anything obvious. I do see the processor here with OK marked on it. So next I need to get the drives out with the power supply so we can get everything out. The power supply is going to need recapped. I can see a number of caps in there, looking a bit dusty. And I did lie, there's 5 screws, I missed one at the back. So bear with me while I continue the teardown. So for what I can see of the power supply, I've got 2 screws here and potentially 2 on the back. Until I turn it I won't see if there's any more. So let's lift the power supply next. Alright, 2 screws at the front, just in here, and that whole bracket lifts out. It's just suspended on the 2 mounts at the back. And I am so pleased to say, I'm not saying it's not without its problems, but how clean is that area there. There's a little bit of discoloration where the VARTA obviously leaks slightly. I'm hoping there's nothing serious. I'll give that all a clean up. But that's in remarkably nice condition. So next, let's get this main board out. There are a number of screws round the chassis in various locations. So let's get all of these out, lift it out and see what we find. So that's it out, but it uses a couple of in plain sight but hidden screws. There's one on this connector here, and the other sits right at the front, just on this connector. So don't just grab and pull, remember those. But overall the condition is really nice. This looks like it's been done a while ago because this is a battery connector. Somebody's done a separate modification there so you can plug in an external battery and everything will be fine. Some of the solder points are discoloured, so I will go over all of those. I will, as a matter of course, go over all this with vinegar and then clean it off. The board itself is actually looking very nice with the exception of what's left of this connector. It's not looking great, so I may need to look into replacing that, which in fairness scares the absolute bejesus out of me. However, it's a through hole, so worst case scenario I can cut it up and take it out in sections. But yeah, it's not looking great. It kind of looks like it opens up slightly at this corner. It probably does the same over there. Let me see if I can bring you down a little bit closer. And hopefully you can see for yourself. But overall, where I expect to see the worst of it, it's actually looking really good. The board itself is quite clean. Right, so next on my list of things to do, I have to make a note of all of these cap values. Some of them look less promising than others. Some look like they've had an impact in their life. That's not looking very good. This one is all scored and scuffed. And that one I said originally up in this corner, hopefully you can see there's a massive impact on that. So all these need replaced. I'm going to start off by, apologies, the board is so big you just trying to focus in on one area with a fixed camera is not working. So this area here where the VARTA used to be, I'm going to clean all this up with some vinegar, neutralise it with isopropyl, just to make sure that whatever was here is fully neutralised. I'm taking no chances. So with that all done, we're ready to look at the cap values and get them replaced. I do see a little bit of rework on this particular Zorro slot, but nothing really else is jumping out. So it doesn't look like this board has had much work, and it looks like somebody nicely took care of it. So next we're going to look at the power supply. It's a beast of a thing. There are 6 screws by the looks of it hold it together, and the warranty sticker is intact. So I will be the first person in here breaking the warranty seal.
Power supplies are dangerous. There are components in these that can hold a charge long after they're unplugged from the mains. So if you're unsure what you're doing, go seek professional advice.
So there are a number of capacitors in here I do want to replace. So I need to get all of this apart so we can lift it out. And I can see 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to guess there'll be a 4th screw underneath. So I'm going to have to take all of this apart to be able to get the board out. So that's everything lifted out. I am seeing a class 2 cap here, which, I will probably replace that. But interesting, it's just sitting loose in there with bare wires. Lovely. So we'll get that replaced, and we'll maybe look at some heat shrink for that rather than leaving it bare. That then leaves us with this bare board, of which I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 caps at least. 11, 12, because there's some tucked away. So I need to get into those, find out what they are and get them replaced. Well, we're ready for testing the power supply. This could be interesting. Let's see what happens. I've got multimeter ready, almost. Sat here. I've got power ready to go in. So I'm safe enough touching everything at the moment because the power's off at the wall. First thing, power on at the wall. So before I power on, I'm going to use a sacrificial hard drive. It's only 160 gig. It's an old one. It's not really needed. However, this is an Alecan L-Tech power supply, and to the best of my knowledge, they actually need a load before they'll actually properly power up. So let's drop that there. And now, instead of just getting a little spin on the fan, the whole power supply should burst into life. Fingers crossed. And I can hear the drive spinning up. So now, when I start checking everything, hopefully, we should see all the right voltages. So I'll check, hopefully, the hard drive first. So there's the 12 volt rail and 5 volts. Let's move on to the main connector and see what we get. Oh, yeah, this is the problem. My probes do not quite work properly there. However, if I do it that way, you can see a rock solid 5 volts, 12 volts, 5 volts, minus 5 volts. That all seems to work perfectly. The fan, while a little bit noisy, is not squealing, it's not squeaking. It's doing exactly what it should. That's brilliant, superb. Really chuffed with that. Let's pop this to the side and let's have a look at the motherboard. So before I desolder any of the caps, I want to remove the chip, because I'm going to have to remove this to look at replacing it. Now there are some damaged legs, so I'll need to try and fold them back over carefully, hopefully without damaging them any further, and then we can get this desoldered, because this has been butchered quite badly. Right, let's pop this to the side. Wow, that was a chore. What was probably 30 seconds to a minute for you guys, yeah, that was 35 to 40 minutes just removing all the different caps, and then another 12 odd minutes removing that. It has come off nice and cleanly, so I can't complain there. Taking your time, making sure that you've basically got all the solder out, and then going over and making sure that each pin is free by wiggling them. It then just lifted out. That is superb. Let's not put that one back on though. Alright, well, I've got a number of areas I would like to clean up. I'm going to clean up round where all the capacitors were, and then we'll start by popping the caps back on, replacing this socket. So that's next. So that's the board all recapped. Shiny new socket, fat lady back where she should be. Before I go any further, big shout out to Sparks UK. Thank you very much, sir, for the channel donation of the Alice socket. Saved me having to go and source one. Much appreciated, much appreciated. So what's left to do? Well, I do note there is a little bit of corrosion still showing down here on the legs of the CPU. So I'm going to lift out each of these chips. I'm going to run some deoxit into the sockets before dropping the chips back in. I may give this a gentle clean up with a glass fibre pen to start with. However, my standard puller will be fine for certain chips, but it's certainly no good for others. Regardless, I'll start every chip by getting in underneath and just gently lifting, and then working the other side, because these potentially have not been out since the day the machine was made. That one's now starting to lift, so I'm happy enough now to get in, and there we go. That's pretty much already out. It's lifted nicely, so I can lift it the rest of the way and we're done. Well, that's now all done. Guess I really have to do the scary bit and see if it powers up. So my severe apologies for this very strange camera angle. However, I'm limited for space, we're in the setup for Christmas, and I'm having to use what I can because everything is about to be packed up and dismantled so that we can get the area that I use back for our Christmas meal. So I've just got the 2000 roughly assembled. There's only 2 screws holding the motherboard in. Power supply is in place. I've got the drives back in, and I'm using the keyboard that I did in a previous video. So that's all connected in. The Amiga is connected up to the LCD using a cable that I got from the Retro Computer Shack. Superb cables, well recommended, running through RGB. The question is, do I get a post? Will we see that classic workbench logo, or will something else happen? Yes! Oh, sorry. Oh, that is amazing. Superb, superb. Oh, this has been scaring the bejesus out of me waiting to power this on. I will be honest, I have been putting off this moment for the last week because I was a little bit nervous, to say the least. However, that screen that screen makes me very, very happy, if you couldn't tell. Right, well, I'm going to call it here for this video. I'm not doing final assembly, I'm not finished. So hopefully that means there's going to be a part 2. So please remember to like and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up, it really does help. And I'll see you on the next Retro Crazy.